The Summer Hikaru Died was not the anime I expected it to be. When I first saw the trailer, I was ready for cosmic horror. Two high school kids, one gets replaced by an eldritch abomination, creepy vibes, terrifying imagery. That's what I thought I signed up for. But little did I know, this was actually somewhat of a love story. Yeah, a proper love story, but it's not spelled out. But the tone, the way they look at each other, the themes, it's all pointing towards Yoshiki and Hikaru actually being in a proper relationship. Now, some people hated that. They're like, wait, it's gay? Ugh. And I'm just here like sitting, bro, it was obvious from episode 1. You don't need to be Sherlock Holmes to see Yoshiki and Hikaru had something deeper than friendship. Something more. So why watch the whole anime just to rage about it at the very end? And I swear, like, people literally are shitting on the anime after the finale has been released. Like, why did you watch the entire season? You could have left it at the very beginning. If you're strictly against gay and homosexual relationships, just quit, bro. For me, their relationship was fascinating. Sometimes it felt romantic, sometimes it felt like a deeply intimate bromance. Almost too close for it to just be a friendship, but not always outright romantic either. It's ambiguous, and honestly, that ambiguity is what makes it so compelling. And oh my god, let's talk about Hikaru's death. That was the weirdest shit I've ever seen. Like, I feel like they did not mean for it to be this ironic and funny, but it turned out that way. Like, seriously, this dude died because he got scared of a titty tree. That's the only thing I can actually call it, because that was the only feature that was very, very clear. Like, he literally got a neuron activation moment, and the shock, or should I say the knockback, is something he couldn't handle, and he simply slipped, cracked his skull, and boom, he's dead. It's so random and absurd that I laughed for a second and then immediately realized that, wait, he's actually gone. Like, it's so odd being in a fun mood, just laughing at someone slipping and falling and, you know, being shocked by a teddy tree, and then they're dead. Like, it's also very realistic, because think about it, how many times have you actually heard of someone dying and having a massive throbbing boner afterwards because they were involved in some sort of, you know, sexual activity beforehand? So it seems very much realistic, honestly. And the thing is, that sudden tonal whiplash, comedy to tragedy in seconds, perfectly sets the mood for the entire series. You never know if you should be laughing, unsettled, or straight up horrified. So okay, now let's talk about the opening. Anime openings love to spoil stuff, but this one was a bit tricky. Now the thing is, now, hear me out. Hikaru not being human was confirmed from episode 1, obviously, but we get to see Hikaru in a completely different form for a minor glimpse of a second every time in the intro. Also, we get to see a bloody knife hitting the floor. We know what that was about, but Hajime sprinting through the forest, that never really happened in the series. You start to think, like, is the intro hinting at the future, or is it showing little tidbits of the past, scenes that we didn't really get to see in the series itself, right? Because Asuko and Yuki disappeared for a split second and their clothes were left floating in the air. So the intro made it look like they would actually die, but that never really happened, because Yoshiki somehow convinced Hikaru to not kill anybody else ever again, right? So it makes you think that half of what really happened in the intro never really came true. So is the OP teasing an alternate version of the story? That would actually make sense, because it would fit the uncanny vibe perfectly. You're watching and constantly thinking, is this where it happens? Is this the scene from the intro? Like, only to realize that the anime was always messing with your expectations. Now, here's where the discourse gets spicy. Some people online argue the Summer Hikaru Died failed at both being gay and being horror. Their reasoning being the horror doesn't really land because the pacing is rushed. Now, as usual, people always say this, I swear, like every anime. I'm starting to expect people to say this, the pacing is off, the pacing is off, the pacing is off. It's every time. It's perfectly happening with every anime that I watch. Every anime that has been adapted from a manga, manhwa, whatever, people immediately start commenting on it and say that the pacing is always off. Now, people are saying that this one is not really horror because every time it gets really tense and the tension starts building, it gets cut by some awkward joke. The gay part is just Yoshiki secretly crushing on his best friend. But I disagree, because the show is not so simple. Because think about it, Yoshiki's feelings, the way Yoshiki put his hand in Hikaru, there's no way of saying that without making it sound sexual, right? Yoshiki put his hand in Hikaru. And the shape of that hole, come on now. Yeah, and the fact that the whole, my best friend died and came back different angle, it's almost word for word how people describe realizing they're gay for the first time. It's layered and symbolic. And the author actually weighed in. On their official post, they said that they've always promoted the series as a coming-of-age horror. Not BL, not romance, but undeniably a queer story. Their words are exactly this: regardless of the genre tag or whether the story is not a romance, I, as the author, can guarantee that it is a queer story. So yeah, it's not a BL, but it's also not just bros. It's queer horror. It was always meant to be like that, Execution-wise, this anime nailed the feeling of it all. The background, the environment, design, gorgeous but eerie. The character movement subtle but unnerving when they needed it to be. And the voice acting? And the facial expressions were done so well. They're absolutely top tier. Every time Hikaru was being an absolute goof, the facial expressions and the voice made it all seem so immersive. It was even, I would go so far as to call it adorable. You could feel the warmth between him and Yoshiki, and then just as quickly the fear when Hikaru stopped feeling human. And the symbolism, the imagery, they were all fascinating too. And the whole someone dies, gets replaced and comes back wrong concept immediately reminded me of Summertime Rendering. But while that show leaned on fast-paced thriller mechanics and fighting and all that, the Summer Hikaru Died slowed down and said, no, let's just sit in this relationship and see how it changes when one of them isn't human anymore. So it's basically a story of acceptance. Okay, if you enjoy videos like these, I'm gonna be making more. So make sure to hit the subscribe button down below so you get notified whenever I make more. Also, I'm gonna be exploring many different other anime until Link Click Season 3 drops. Also, I've been hearing news about To Be Hero X Season 2 dropping in January, but I'm pretty sure that's just rumors. Anyways, until any one of that actually drops, I'm gonna be making various different videos on various different anime. So stay tuned. So what is The Summer Hikaru Died? It's not just a horror, it's not just romance, it's somewhat slice of life with a creepy twist and a queer coming-of-age horror. And whether you read Yoshiki and Hikaru as boyfriends or just friends, their bond is the center, messy, intimate, and ambiguous. And that's why it works, because the horror doesn't come from monsters or gore, it comes from the fear of losing someone. Now, if you love someone and they are no longer the same person and not knowing if you can accept what they've become, that is very scary. So that's what makes this anime stick with you. It's very personal, it's very nuanced, it's not everyone's cup of tea, So a lot of people really went for a lot of the simple-minded freaks, they went for the, it's gay, so we're just gonna quit. And a lot of people actually thought about it, and a lot of people actually processed it. Now, me, personally, I watched the anime and I was like, it's a story between two guys, exploring, because we got to see these scenes in the bathtub and all of the other scenes where they were really being a bit too intimate for my liking, but I accepted it because I felt that, hey, we've all been through something like that before, where we actually figured out that that was actually wrong for us, right? Because we are heterosexuals. Maybe you're not, maybe you're homosexual, maybe you explored something much differently. So accepting people who are different from you is what being mature is. So I saw it and I actually liked it. It was like peering into someone else's life. It was like peering into something way more different than what I was, and that made it very much interesting. So anyways, if you guys enjoyed this video so far, make sure to hit the like button. Thank you guys so much for watching and liking. See you guys in another one of my videos. Until then, goodbye.